Hey Scorpio, how are you? My name is Danielle. Welcome to Moonlight Intuition. This is going to be a general reading for you. And if there are messages that resonate with you, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Just do that right now because it helps my channel grow. And if you want, free readings every week, you want to keep up with that, please subscribe. If you would like a personal reading with me, please check out the description box below for all the info. Oh, that's so interesting. I'll tell you why in a second, the first card that came out. But yeah, also I'm a pet sitter. Oh, interesting. Ooh, I'm a professional pet sitter and I'm with cats right now, so they might get involved. And also I'm kind of like sneezy a bit. I'm not allergic to animals, I don't think. That'll be terrible for me. Okay, hang on. One more card for Scorpio. This is spicy, just like you. Okay, we have the Empress reversed. We have the Devil. And then Libra just had this card too. I just did their reading. This card is not in the traditional tarot deck. The artist of this particular deck created two kind of wild cards for this deck that are, again, are not in traditional tarot. There's no numbers on them, nothing. And you got this card. So right away, probably there's going to be something for you with the upcoming eclipse on March 25th. It's in Libra. And I mean, you guys are kind of the season right after Libra too. So some of you might be on the cusp of Libra. But anyway, there's enough. I just feel like this needs to be said right out of the gate. Also, this is Libra energy. So for some of you, why if like Libra is, maybe if there is a Libra in your life or whatever, and maybe you're attracting Libra, whatever. There's also Capricorn energy here. But there's the eclipse that's happening on, I think it's March 25th. It's happening in Libra, and it's really going to illuminate kind of like relationship patterns and how we've shown up in relationships and how patterns have repeated in relationships. So right out of the gate, and again, the Devil here is about our shadow. And the Devil is like, people are scared of it, but I think it's good, but it's the shadow. And I understand it's like when we ignore our emotions, emotions in Latin. Okay, emotions, sorry. Our emotions are ruled by the moon, technically, right? It's like our subconscious, our emotions, our intuition. The moon in Latin is la luna. So when we ignore our emotions, la luna, it turns us into a lunatic. It does, right? So when like our own emotions are too painful to face, which is the shadow, we're pushing it in the shadow, that's when we start kind of like self-sabotaging, projecting, giving up on ourselves, whatever it may be. So there's a big theme here of maybe how you're feeling in relationships or blah, 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 which is okay. This is going to be a theme for everybody. I mean, this eclipse, it's been we've been in this axis of Aries, Libra eclipses for a while now, but I don't know why. There's something about that might be, or that you're aware of. And this isn't to say like, it's about you. At the end of the day, that's the beauty of relationships. It's like, it's always about you. And that's the point of relationships. It illuminates stuff to you about you. So when things are triggering, it's because there's something. It's not to say, now look, and there's all kinds of situations where people are like abusive and blah. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about like interpersonal relationships, whether it be romantic, friendship, blah, blah, blah. Usually when something is triggering to us, because of a relationship, and again, not abuse, not anything like that, but that's kind of the point. Like, that's the point of relationships, is for us to learn things about ourselves. And of course, and then the more we learn about ourselves through these relationships, when it's like, okay, why do I keep getting triggered by this? It's like, if we don't look at that, which is the Devil, it kind of like keeps you chained to him, right? Like, these people are chained to the Devil. But that's the thing with the Devil card. It's like, these chains are loose. Look how loose they're around these people's necks. They can just be like, take them off and be like, and then the Devil turns into a little bat and flies away. It's like, wait, like when you no longer need the Devil. And I feel, this is Capricorn energy, but I feel like it's kind of, look, I'm so sniffly. I feel like it's kind of like also Scorpio energy in a way. It's like the underworld. But there's something that, that it's like, remember, Scorpio, relationships, it's not like, no relationship will ever fulfill you, right? No, like, oh, if I was with this kind of person, or if I was this person, or if I even had a relationship at all, or whatever situation you may personally be in, and this is a general reading, it'll resonate with people differently, but it's like, you know, to be like, you might be going through a shift of like, okay, perhaps there's no relationship or anything out there really that will satiate me or fulfill me or make me feel safe or loved or blah, blah, blah. Because you know how it's like, it's the classic with anything, right? People would be like, I wish I had money. I wish I had this. And like, you could give said person like $10 million and still your brain still follows you around, right? But there's something that might be illuminated to you or has been, but especially with the eclipse. It's not to scare you, but that's just kind of what's coming up for me with these cards. But that's just what I'm saying. That of like how, and I mean, really, it's like, and this is psychology, attachment styles. So fascinating. I mean, even me, I'm like, I don't give a shit. I'll be personal about it. It's like, I've been seeing a therapist the last like several weeks. It's been amazing. It's been like life changing for me. And it's so positive and like fascinating. Like I'm just approaching myself and it through curiosity. And really, and I already knew about this. I mean, really like in relationships, there's like 3 attachment styles: secure, anxious, avoidant. And then there's like, you know, fearful, avoidant, dismissive, whatever. And you can kind of like go in the subcategories, but it's like, it's fascinating. And so, you know, it's usually like relationships can, whichever attachment you are, and if you're secure, good for you. And if you're not, and this all has to do with our caregivers. That's all that is. It's all just like how we related to our caregivers as children. Like for me, I'm anxious. So it's like fearing of abandonment. So anytime it's like things go away, it's like, ah, like, you know what I mean? That anxious attachment style gets triggered. And if you're avoidant, it's kind of the opposite. It's like, okay, if you feel you're being like smothered or your autonomy is being threatened, that's when people like, and so often, I don't know why, I'm kind of going down a psychology rabbit hole, but that's also like my academic background in psychology. And that's kind of like why I love tarot and astrology. It's just kind of like my artist side and my academic side coming together. But it's like, you know, often anxious and avoidance are attracted to each other. It's like, and what do those things do? They trigger each other's wound. So like if an avoidant is feeling kind of like, okay, I need to just like, or even like if the avoidant's not doing anything, and also vice versa, whatever. Let's say like an avoidant person, an avoidant and anxious person are in a relationship, and the avoidant person is like, just needing alone time. Well, even just that can trigger the anxious person's wound, right? It's like, why am I not hearing about what's going on? And then it's like that can cause the anxious person to be like anxious about it. What's going on? And like, you know, and then we're getting into like, you know, cognitive behavioral therapy and all this. And also I'm like, I'm not a therapist, but this is all relevant. I mean, this is all stuff you can read about. All this stuff is very fascinating. So it's like, yeah, it's like even that can just trigger the anxious person's wound of like, what's going on? And then that just makes that triggers the avoidant person's wound. Yeah, you're being too much. And then it's like, so it's like a recipe for disaster, or it's a recipe for growth, right? It's very powerful. It just depends how you see it. So it's kind of like to identify like which maybe even attachment style you are, right? And you can just do this online. Like you can take a quiz, and you probably know. I feel like you probably know which one you are. I mean, for me, when I first read about this stuff, I'm like, well, I'll take a wild guess. And sure enough. But yeah, anyway, there's something about that it's like, just know, Scorpio. It's like relationships are there to illuminate something about yourself. And then when you kind of have the courage to look at it, right? Instead of like, whatever. I mean, you're a water sign. You can kind of be, and I'm a water sign too. We can be like cunning and be like, well, you're dead to me. Bye. It's like, or maybe be like, okay, maybe instead of like self-sabotaging or like making rash decisions or like running, whatever. It's like, maybe it's like to examine, what is it that I get so worked up by? And again, whatever it is, it may be for you. If you're the more like retreating person, the anxious person, or whatever, or however it is that you're showing up in relationships, right? To kind of be like, what is happening to me it's very fascinating. And it's kind of cool when you start looking at yourself. I mean, I just find it very fascinating. It's cool when you start looking at your inner world instead. I think this is kind of where the Empress comes in. It's like you can birth anything anew. Even a current relationship you are currently in can completely change, right? Because it's like the classic when we try to like control things or change other people, blah, blah, it doesn't help. And as soon as you start looking at yourself and healing these core wounds, right, it changes people around you. It's very fascinating. And so, and yeah, the Empress, I love this. I mean, it's reversed. So I feel like it's kind of like maybe part of your upcoming near future, that it's like something about your relationships is going to be birthed anew, right? But I think this is kind of the challenge, right? In a good way. It's like the devil has to be kind of looked at. It's kind of the devil within you, and we all have that. We all have the shadow. So there's something really nice here. And also this is like, yeah, this is Libra and Taurus energy, actually. So there could be, because this is a big Venus card, and Venus rules Libra and Taurus. So there's something about that. Could be something even in between. Some of you, yeah, there could be like, some of you could be attracting a Libra, Taurus, a Capricorn, whatever, or some of you could just be like the energy in general. Some of you, it's like something could even be coming in Taurus season, which is the spring. But yeah, this is kind of like, I think, yeah, it's like your kind of upcoming is a lot about relationships. Now, this I've like kind of veered into a love reading, but not really. It's not like you're gonna meet some. It's like, no, I think this is like deep inner work that maybe you've never quite done before, right? Because that's the thing. It's like we view everything in the outside for a while as like, you know, well, I feel this way because you're like this and that's like that. And not just you, everybody. I'm not pointing fingers. It's like, and then when you kind of start looking inward and you're like, okay, really? It's like, why is that making me react this way or feel this way or being anxious or blah, 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 or wanting to flee, or why is this making me respond this way? And that's the real place where you can birth incredible change in your whole life. And again, whether it's like you want a new relationship, you're currently in one, or whatever it may be, it's like it really can change everything. So I hope this made sense. It's kind of deep, kind of psychology, but yeah, look up attachment styles. I feel like I'm supposed to just tell you that. Do a quiz. There's tons online. And yeah, then you kind of start seeing, oh, these things are universal. It's like, oh, there's like 3. You can be secure, anxious, or avoidant. And now if you are anxious or avoidant, these aren't like, you weren't born that way. It's not in your DNA. It's just because, again, you're how you related to your caregivers as children. And so you can do work on yourself to move towards being secure again. I'm doing that with myself right now. It's wild. It's wild. How it just like changes things. You're like, oh, okay. So you can work to being more secure, but it takes, you got to look at yourself, right? So yeah, next time you're feeling like, it's like to maybe examine, like, okay, maybe I just need to put that to the side and be like, and look and be like, okay, why, like when this fucking person does this, I feel this way. Instead of like, kind of like, like wasting your energy at like project, even if you're not saying anything, like projecting that energy towards a person, right? It's instead being like, why does that make me do that? What is this about? What, like, you know, and kind of just start there. And yeah, read about attachment theory. But yeah, there's something with you about relationships. I think it's positive. It's very positive. I'm not being like, oh, all of you are going to go through a breakup. But I mean, yeah, breakups are universal. Some of you will eventually at one point in your life. But it's like, I think this is, yeah, that you're about to birth something anew in terms of your romantic world. But also like any relationship, interpersonal, whatever, friendships. But yeah, some of you might be starting something completely new that'll be completely different. That you're like, whoa. And some of you might be changing. I mean, yeah, some of you will go through breakups at some point in your life. Maybe it'll be soon. Some of you, because these things happen every day. But some of you might be just be changing the current one you have based on giving the devil a square look in the eye and being like, okay, what the fuck is this about? And the devil is kind of like the Wizard of Oz. Like when they find the wizard behind the curtain of Oz, they're like, that's the wizard. It's like a weird little man. So it's like our fears, which is our emotions, right? When you just look at yourself and being like, okay, why do I feel this way? What could this be about? And start journaling about it. I mean, you're a Scorpio, like dive deep, like journal, be inquisitive, like be like a scientist about yourself and be like, why do I always, and it's physiological feelings. If you're like, okay, well, I can't determine how, I can't be like, I'm sad or I'm angry. Well, look at your body. What is it making, like what physiological feeling is arising in my body right now? Because really that's how you can tell what emotions you're feeling. If you're like, I'm sad, it's like, well, how do you know? It's like, I don't know. Well, how do you know? Because it's making you feel something physically, right? It's not a concept. It's like emotions make you feel something physically. So it's like to start examining at that, and just like even that in itself can be very powerful. Those emotions will have space to breathe and space to pass through instead of getting trapped in your body and like hurting yourself, right? So, because I mean, think if you're like, that's bullshit. I mean, yeah, it's true. I mean, look, I love the work also of Gabor. Is it like Gabor Mate? I'm probably saying his name wrong, but he's amazing. He's a doctor, psychologist, or whatever, and he talks a lot about that, how it's like, yeah, the thoughts create emotions, and the emotions create sensations in the body, and blah, 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 and all that jazz. And anyway, but it's like, yeah, I mean, think of like when you're scared, like it makes your body jolt. So it's like sadness does stuff to your body. It all does stuff to your body. So if you're like, I don't know how I feel, it's like, well, yeah, when you're triggered, you know you're feeling something, right? You know you don't feel good, right? You probably want to react, retreat, both. Get that stinger. Put a hex on someone, and I'm here for it, trust me, but we shouldn't do that, right? So Scorpio, yeah, you're on a good path of like kind of changing this area of your life, I think. Dare to look at the devil. He's not so scary. He's the Wizard of Oz. He's a weird little bald man who's like behind a curtain, and he's only scary because you can't see him. So Scorpio, you're fantastic. You're fabulous. Also, this is a card of fertility. So for some of you, if you don't want to have children, just wrap it up. And if you do, great. I love you. You're fantastic. You're sexy. You're crazy, sexy, cool, trendy, fucky, hip. Until next time, please subscribe to the channel, like the video. I love you.